Remember the good old days where life seemed such a breeze and all we had to worry about was what time the dinner bell rang or what we were doing later with our friends? Well, how life has changed over the last 30 years. And of course, we decided to make it easier by deciding to be self-employed as a fencing contractor or start our own business. What were we ever thinking? Time moves so fast. Sometimes you gotta work on the ground floor and get amongst the mud with the lads, and other times you have to put on your best shirt and charm it out with the board. Whichever way you choose to do it, there's a hard way and an easier way. Knowledge is power. Knowledge from someone who has already built several fencing businesses and has made all the mistakes and successes you could possibly think of. Could be the only edge you need to get you where you want to go. Be it a sole trader earning six figures or a company structure earning millions. You're listening to the man who has done both from the trenches up and is so passionate about the fencing industry and where it's headed. Now, here's your host, the man who's not afraid to get his hands dirty, Simon Davis, with It's a Fencer's Life, Lessons from the Trenches.
G'day guys. Simon here, the Profitable Fencer. Although the last 12 months, it does not feel like that. It has been a horrid 12 months. And I do apologise once again. I have not done a podcast for a couple of months for a couple of reasons, and wanted to go through that today. This episode is called Back from the Brink, what the last 12 months has taught me about survival. For those that have listened to me before and know my story in my past, we've been through some rough times and everything else. This last 12 months has been absolutely horrid for my business in where we're situated, and for a lot of other businesses in Australia, I believe so. To be brutally honest, our turnover this year was 50% down from last year. Our wages went up through the roof. A lot of it is purely based on weather patterns, severe weather patterns that were really, really bad. The ground after 2022, if you're in outside of Australia and you're listening to this, 2022 in my area we had massive floods, biggest ever we've had. The ground has just not dried out. We've had continuous rain since then. This year in my area and close to the Gold Coast, Queensland, we've had about 40 to 50 days, consecutive days of rain that just bogged everything else down. And not only us, even further south now, down towards Newcastle and Sydney, have just been inundated with rain. They've had their biggest floods around Taree that they've ever seen. And things are just have been brutal on the east coast of Australia. Weather patterns. Victoria are hitting record dry spells, so they're struggling. And it has a big knock-on effect, and this is what I want to talk about a little bit today. The knock-on effect for us in rain, if we have 40 days of rain, we end up losing about 80 days, probably to 100 days more of productive work. And a lot of people sort of look at me and go, well, you know, it's a twofold thing. When the sun comes out, everybody wants to, sun's out, why aren't you on my job? But moving machines around, doing agricultural work and rural work and earth moving work, moving machines around when it's wet, and has a very big cost implication. You can go to a job, knock a job out that takes a month, and all of a sudden it's taking 2 months, or you can't complete it for 2 months. Let's say you have to leave and then pick up your machines and move them again. You're floating machines around all of the places, costing you a lot of money. So it's been quite hard. Wages, as I said, went up last year. I only had 2 to 3 fellas with me, and we were quite comfortable. And I made a few changes, and this year we now have 4, 5, 6, 7 of us, and so wages have sort of gone up, but the actual input of work we were doing drastically changed. So one of the big things you've got to do then, as on a building, as I said, it was very, very tough for us physically to try and do the work. So one of the ways I stayed afloat, and this is just not theory, this is actual decisions and practicality that the things that we've done, is I started doing a lot more tenders than I would normally do. I chased a lot of tenders. I got on the ground and went around to the builders that I do work with. I don't work with many, but I do work with a few. So I went and seen all of them. I increased my prices again, and a lot of people would sort of say that is the opposite to what we should do. You decrease your prices when you've got no work. Well, I actually increased my prices to make sure I was actually making more money out of the jobs than what we were doing before. So rather than trying to rely on speed of job, we were relying on quality of job and value of job. Still trying to get through it as quickly as possible, but it was more about the reliability of getting us in to do a job. I spent more money on machinery. I spent more money on maintenance. Got a lot of things up to scratch that we were sort of doing, and that helped a hell of a lot. So how I've sort of protected my crew a little bit is I've given them time off. I've given them holidays and sent them away for a little bit so they can have a break. Trying to keep the lights on. As I said, we've been doing a lot of maintenance. So I've had blokes doing maintenance, cleaning up the yards, doing things like that when we can't sort of physically get out and do any work. Has that hurt the back pocket? Yes, it has. One of the other big things is I took a wage cut myself. It was either me or put one of the staff off. So I took a wage cut, cut it in half actually by 50%, and took the short-term loss for now so we can get the long-term gain when things sort of pick up again. And it is a cycle, believe me, that things will pick up. It's not just me. I've talked to a lot of business owners all over Australia, and that they have struggled, whether it's wet or whether it's dry. If you're going into the drought-affected areas, there's a difference there. The farmers aren't spending any money because they're buying feed, or they need feed to buy, so they're not spending it on fencing. There's a lot of things, but one of the big things too is I went back into town for a little bit, started doing a bit of residential work again, short sort of spurts. But the commercial side, I invested a lot of time, and I spent probably 3 months just solidly chasing tenders and nutting out tenders, and coming to the back end of it now. The sun's out, it's cold, it's winter here, and it's cold. We've got the fires going and everything else. Even though we're in a subtropical area, it's still cold for what we're normally used to. But the big thing on that is now the sun's starting to come out and it's winter, the ground's not drying out like it should for us. So we still can't get a lot of machines around the area. So we've had to go in and do a few commercial jobs, industrial jobs where we've been able to get to. And that has sort of kept pushing us through a little bit. So that's been really good. So that's one way of protecting your crew, giving them time off and holidays if they've got it allocated and you can afford to do that. Getting them to do maintenance, getting them to clean up. I have a really good guy who's really good on the mechanical side and the operations side, or as an operator. So he's quite handy there. So we've just invested in a mulcher now for our excavator as well. We're looking at getting a new truck as well, so we can start moving our own gear around. So yes, it's going to cost a fair bit of money, but it's also going to keep everything back in-house where we can be the masters of our own universe, so to speak, and move things around that way. So now the sun's out. Here's what's happening next. We have just scored 3 commercial jobs in the last month that have come in. To the value, one to the value of 58 grand, one to the value of 60 grand, one to the value of 180 grand, all coming at once. And then my builders have all reached out. They're starting to win work, so they're all coming at once. The phones have started picking up again now, so they're starting to sort of come in around. So things are looking bright again for the future. They always do. It's always cyclic or cyclic. Yeah, cyclic is the word. It runs around in circles. There's ebbs and flows, and everything does sort of happen. You just got to hang in there long enough to make sure you can make ends meet in different ways. Now, I've also talked to a lot of other fencers who have had to go back out subbing because they're not getting any work in. Their phones have dried up. I have noticed the phones dried. They sort of dried up a little bit, and where I was getting 10 phone calls a day for leads, I'd probably get one. I was probably getting maybe 10 a week if I was lucky. But then for some reason, just with and in the midst of all of that, we had an election. So, everything was up and down. Now, they say the elections don't make too much of a difference, but I think they do. People get a little bit nervous of which side they're sitting on and where money's going to change, or interest rates, or things like that. So it's quite important to knuckle down, chase things up, follow up on your quotes. That has been one thing I've done a lot of, and it has brought in a lot more work for us, to the point where I've been a little bit overwhelmed because I'm trying to catch up with all the paperwork and try and get things going that way. But I've also been trying to spend a lot of time on the ground training with the guys, getting them up to speed so we can push jobs out quicker, which is better for us so we can get to the next job, but also we need to keep control of the quality and the value we're giving to our customers. So that's something that the last 12 months has taught us, being resilient, trying to diversify a little bit, and keep our customers happy, offer different little things that I normally wouldn't bother about. But as I said, buying a new truck, offering freight, offering a mulching service, little things like that. We don't do a lot of painting or staining, but we've thrown that one up. We've thrown cleaning and maintenance of fences and pressure washing. We've sort of gone around the sort of full hog. I'm not totally convinced which is the best way for us yet, but having the option to do that rather than not have the option and sit at home and go broke is not where you want to be. So if you're in that position and you need to get more money in the doors, maybe you can think outside the box a little bit and chase some, diversify your bit of business that you're doing. You might have to do a little bit of land clearing or garden maintenance as you're sort of going along to get things. As I said, one of the big things I did was put my prices up again, and it's just, you've got to be charging as much as you can to sustain your business, and to do that you need to know your numbers. So that's just a finance sort of tip, that not financial advice, but it's just a tip. If you're really, really struggling, you've got to put yourself in a position where you're not struggling, and one of the easiest ways to do that is price rise. So that's it for now. Talk to you soon. Thank you for listening. Back from the brink. Here we go again. Looking forward to July 1st. It's the start of a new financial year, so hopefully things will just start to keep improving. Cheers for now.
Thanks again for listening to the Fencer's Life Podcast. Be sure to follow on Twitter, Instagram, or the free Facebook group, The Fence Posts. And of course, Simon's personal Facebook, facebook.com/Simon M. Davis 1. And also check out Spotify to get weekly episodes. If you believe Simon can help you make a difference in your fencing business, please reach out to him on Messenger or visit his coaching mentoring site at theprofitablefencer.com. Until then, stay safe and happy fencing.